up, everybody? Welcome to another action-packed edition of Talking Elite Fitness. I'm Sean Woodland, joined as always by Lauren Khalil. Lauren and her dog, is that Saber or Miko? It's in the background.
Yes, this is Miko. She's feeling very needy today. I don't know
Miko.
What's up, but
why are you neglecting your animals, Lauren?
you would think that I paid no attention to them ever.
And featuring the one and only Tommy Marquez. Tommy, what's up?
Not much. Another great day in paradise here.
Yes, that is for sure. You're knee deep in the NBA playoffs too, right? Like,
I am. Lakers' big win yesterday. Am really enjoying the Clippers Denver series because I want them to beat each other up. So then the next round, the Lakers, can fast track it to the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah. It's amazing. You'll watch other games just to root in your team's best interest. Like teams you don't care about. You're like, I need this team to win. Well, on today, we got a busy show, a lot to talk about. We're going to go over some headlines, including 4 new participants, 4 new people who have earned their tickets to the CrossFit Games. Going to talk a little bit about sponsorships with the World Fitness Project. Spend much of our time talking about running. Running in the team competition, the team online qualifier, running. So have some thoughts on that. And then we're going to interview Josh Hicks, our good friend Josh Hicks, who is, what's his official title with the World Fitness Project? Something important.
Director of Medical and Safety.
Director of Medical and Safety for the World Fitness Project. We've had Hicks on before. I'm sure you guys have seen him at events. Fantastic dude. Talks about his new role with the World Fitness Project, how it's the same as what he's done in the past for other events and how it differs. So looking forward to hearing from him because he always has some great insight on the best practices to keep athletes safe and everything that he goes through and what's necessary to make sure that you run as safe a competition as possible. But let's just jump right into it. Let's get into some headlines. First off, we have 4 more people, I should say, who are heading to the CrossFit Games to compete out of the Copa Sur in-person qualifier. Maria Quintero is one of them. Enrique Moreira is one of them. Luisa Marquez and Callian Sousa, all earning a spot at the 2025 CrossFit Games.
Shout out Luisa Marquez, who teen games athlete in the past, went 100 points in the last 2 events to make up, I think, a 44-point difference going into Sunday to make it to the games. So, pretty sizable point spread, just goes out and rips it, including anyone who's familiar with Brazil events down in South America. Brazil CrossFit Championship, most notably in 2019 or 2020, I can't remember, whatever year that Sean Sweeney went down there, and I was down there with him, introduced this last person standing style.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, workout that was one of the nastiest workouts I've ever seen. And they've continued to build upon that. And so they basically did a last person standing workout again this year. And Luisa won that event to secure her spot in pretty dramatic fashion. So that was super cool.
And I understand. Go ahead, Lauren, because I was going to say, you told me this before I didn't have a chance to watch the broadcast, and it was apparently
I want
really
to tip my hat off, if I was wearing one right now, to their broadcast because it was so well done. And I think the real MVP, of course, the athletes punching their tickets to the games, is wonderful. But the real MVP that nobody has seen the face of, we want this person to come forward, is whoever the drone operator was. Because if you go back and watch this broadcast when they were running outside, and the way that this drone was getting through little tiny hallways and going through Vendor Village, and you were like at the edge of your seat wondering, is it going to crash? Is it going to crash? What's going to happen? I was just waiting.
Because we crashed the drone at the Mayhem Classic, crashed the drone right into the tree live. So that was fun. So
this individual did not crash, and I sent them a DM on Instagram hoping that they would respond. But if anybody's out there and knows who the creator was flying it, let them know that chef's kiss with the drone operation.
Okay, fantastic. Yep. Well, we have more in-person action this weekend at the Wadland Fest. 4 more people will be earning tickets. And that's over in, that's Europe, I know, right?
Is it Spain, right?
God, I should know, and I don't. Efforting.
It's in Malaga, Spain.
That's it. Say.
Thank you, Tommy.
Thanks for saving us.
I got you.
I technically just keep an eye on the ones that I'm going to do, so I know where I'm traveling.
Yeah.
But more people.
What's next for you?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Mm.
Yeah, nothing super concrete. Yeah. But one more competition, and then May there's a really busy week coming up. I got it.
Chaos.
Yes, I'm gonna go. Let me look for that because
It's the last weekend in May, first weekend in June. Bridge. So after Memorial Weekend here in the States, it's that like May 29th to June 1st.
Yes.
You have Rebel Renegade Games in South Africa, Far East Throwdown in Republic of Korea, and Syndicate Crown in Knoxville.
Yep.
And Torian Pro.
Yeah.
So four.
And we have 2 straight Europe competitions, Wadland this coming weekend, and then May 9th, French Throwdown. And then after the French Throwdown, it's really like, I think almost every weekend. There's another break in May. But that May 29th, June 1st weekend, that's the big one right there. And then we finish up with the NorCal Classic, June 6th through the 8th. And then in between NorCal and that busy weekend is the Torian Pro, which is always a fantastic event as well.
Before I forget, quick shout out. Lauren Miller let me know from NorCal Classic. They're looking for paid judges. Oh, so they do have judges needed, and it's a paid positions. So if you're interested, if you're in the greater California area, heck, even if you're not, if you're in Nevada, Sparks, Nevada, or someplace, and you want to do some judging, you have experience. They do have some positions available, and they're actively looking for judges in paid positions. So go support that event. Go help out. Should be fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Another thing we want to talk about, and I think this was a subject last week, is Velitas, the apparel sponsor and shoe sponsor, or partner, I should say, of the CrossFit Games. They are now on board as well with the World Fitness Project. So let's wheel out once again the Reactometer.
I feel like we're on a game show and we're spinning right now.
Wheel that sumbitch out there. Give that thing a spin. Tommy, where does this now land on the Reactometer? Because I think last week when we announced this, it was sort of a
yeah, and went from a to a
just like that. That was a genuine Reactometer for me.
You had my curiosity. Now you have my attention, and I think ultimately it would have been the same in either direction if they had just been the World Fitness Project or just done the CrossFit Games. But now you're like, they're like, they're really making a push on multiple fronts here. And it feels like a plan hatched by beloved 90s, 2000s cartoon Pinky and the Brain, where, every
throwback.
Try to take over the world.
Yeah. What are we going to do today, Brain? Same thing we do every Pinky. Try to take over the world.
I love Pinky and the Brain.
This is their chance. They're trying to take over the world, and they could be the lead dog on. I mean, if you assuming that the CrossFit Games contract includes the age group finals as well, you now have potentially the CrossFit Games in Albany, the age group in Columbus, and 3 live events in different cities around the world for World Fitness Projects. And now you have 5 significant in-person events that your brand is going to be everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of play from a brand that's like, hey, we're going to take our shot, right? And
I mean, it's a good strategy, and especially if you have the financial backing to do something like that, because the reach that they will get also from the locations of everything. So you have the 3 events in the US, you have the 1 event in Europe. I know that they're probably more well known in Europe, but just regionally in US, kind of bopping over to different locations, I think is a great strategy on their part.
Yeah, especially North American exposure is going to be important, right?
Mm-hmm.
For any brand in this space, because even despite our like Europe being like the hot spot for it as far as like passion and fervor right now, you could also maybe mix in South America there at times. The core of the sport has always been North America, because that's where the games were held, that's where the company was founded, and that's where a lot of athletes come to train. So, yeah.
Now you also have Pliability as a partner.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep, they hopped on too.
Yes. So, how many brands need to sign on to move the reactometer from to wow?
Yeah, I would say probably like they definitely need 3. So like there's 2 significant ones announced. You definitely need 3. I think 4 to 5 of like big partners, you would be like, oh, okay, yeah, there's like some serious interest, right? Yeah. Like, and it's a little bit different because CrossFit Games tiers theirs slightly differently. So like not everyone has the same level, but as far as like partners, there's 3 big partners, and then there's a half dozen smaller partnerships that are a much smaller financial obligation on that end. So, for the games, you have Rogue, you have Velites, you have United States Border Patrol, and then on the lower end, you have GoWad, Tupood, PB Fit, Strong Coffee, stuff like that. So I think if you're looking at like Pliability as a potential big partner for them, which they have, like back when they were ROMWAD, they were supporters of the games and everything like that. And GoWad has been a partner level supporter in the past too. So I consider that a decent partnership. Now you have Velites, who is clearly staking their claim. If you can maybe get like one big kind of like a big company that's maybe like a supplement brand, or it's just a slightly different avenue to make a splash. Like, yeah, I think now you're starting to cook a little bit.
Do we know if they are, or if anybody is making the athlete jerseys? Like the ones that people remember when like Noble, I think was Noble the only brand that sold them?
Are you talking athlete jerseys that you could buy as a fan?
Yeah, like if I'm a fan, I can buy, I can support. A kickback goes to the
GoRuck
athlete.
technically did it, right? And they also in like short order printed Lazar's jersey as well,
right?
But yeah, and then I mean, in some, you could consider Northern Spirit doing so last year for age groups, because they really took over the uniform elements for that. But yeah, it's a little bit different. You're talking about being able to buy specific jerseys, I guess.
Yeah.
But
can I answer my own question?
Ooh, yeah.
So to me, it's not necessarily about quantity on the reactometer. It's about quality. Like, I think you would expect your usual suspects to be part of this.
Yeah.
And I think that's more or less what we have seen, brands that are endemic to CrossFit. You just expect to see them. I want to see a brand come in that maybe has never been part of CrossFit, a big name brand that has name recognition outside of the fitness space. You get one of those, that is almost to me worth more than 3 or 4 brands that we are used to seeing in the CrossFit space, like someone with some deep pockets.
Yeah,
that really moves the reactometer for me.
Yeah, or like even like Adidas, right? Because Adidas has been very active in the fitness space, but like in a different way in more recent years, like signing some athletes and things like that. Yeah. I believe LRX provides the apparel for WFP. So maybe like a brand like Adidas would be like a footwear partner, because LRX doesn't do that. But yeah, it'd be interesting. That would be a big get, especially for, I think a brand like Adidas is really important too, because I believe they're based in Germany, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So a European based international brand would certainly be good.
Moving on. Leaderboard is now closed for the age groups. Score adjustments, anything wacky?
I haven't seen a ton. Admittedly, I haven't been super dialed into it. I think with live event this weekend, I'm kind of waiting. It sounds weird. You almost kind of like wait to see like where people start throwing up stuff on social media and making a stink on that end. I feel like those scenarios kind of like weed themselves out. So
yeah, I haven't seen or heard anything major. I know there were score adjustments. I know people were knocked out. I mean, I saw a video of Ant Haynes who good on him.
Yeah.
I know he took accountability for himself. Love to see that.
And I've had very limited interactions with him, and it's all been virtual. But he's a fantastic guy. Like, give the dude credit for being like, I didn't meet the standard. I got penalized. That's it. They took responsibility.
Wow, what a time.
So respect. And Haynes. All right. Well, let's talk about. Let's move on from that. Let's talk about the thing that I know we want to spend some time discussing.
Oh, let me get comfy.
And we're not going to whip through the team workouts. Those are all released. Go listen to Get With The Programming. Bill and Chase, they can walk you through all that. They're very good at it. The issue that everybody's talking about is that there is an 800-meter run in workout number 4. And I was saying this to someone today. I never thought I would see the day when we had running in an online competition. I just didn't think it would ever happen. And now it has. And I am somewhat shocked.
Want to know what I would do if the 3 of us were on a team together and obviously another female?
What? Not run?
I would give my fitness tracker to Mr. Tommy Marquez, and he would log the score of running for the team.
Well,
and you'd be wise to do that, Lauren.
Good move.
I mean,
but at the same time, it's interesting, Sean. I kind of had the same reaction. I thought it was a joke at first. It was like, to quote another movie, it was like Ron Burgundy. I wrote it down in my diary.
I thought,
CrossFit had a very funny joke today.
And that's a good way of putting it.
Oh, I actually did that joke. Thank you.
Ooh, that's a PR.
Yeah.
Amazing.
There we go.
Seen that
movie. And then I was like, wait, no, actually, that's real. Like I couldn't believe it, just like you. Also because we had countless discussions at HQ, and people were adamant as to why physical, like distance running, could never be a part of the online format. People, I mean, you start from the top down, people grandstanding about the integrity of the test and the fairness, and we're casting a wide net and it's got to be fair, and we're going to do this. We got to make sure it's affiliate friendly, and it's this and that. And it's like, oh, I guess maybe those people changed their tune all of a sudden.
I don't think a lot of those people are in the room anymore.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely, I know 3 people that are still in the room, at least. But like some of those, like I couldn't believe it, because there's such a high chance for people to, and this sucks, right? Because you don't want to have to play to, for lack of a better term, the lowest common denominator here. You don't want to have to play to the people that could potentially like cheat and skirt the lines and stuff like that. But it's something you have to be aware of, and you have to account for in today's like online competition format. And I don't think there's a way you can reasonably paint this as a fair testing element. I just don't.
I mean, there's so many talking points. You look at, a affiliate in a rural suburb where the land is flat versus somebody who's in a city where there's traffic and there's no good course or route. You look at somebody who's in the heat of Texas, Florida, anywhere in the South versus someone who's in the North and it's a mild 40 to 50 degrees. Like, there's so many things that do not make this equal.
Well, couldn't you make the argument, first thing, the counter argument to that would be, we have that in the open too. But I'm not saying I agree with that, but it is more controlled. And I think I agree with Tommy in that. No, I'm going to agree with you on this. I'm just bringing it up like I like to do, just a counter, just in case.
Yeah, devil's advocate.
So,
we love that here.
In an online format, there are plenty of ways that people that it can get fudged, and you want to be able to control for that as much as you possibly can. Standard wall ball height, standard wall ball, standard floor setup, a rower, a machine. You can more or less standardize that stuff. Now, are there ways to cheat? Yeah, we saw that video that people put out, like the rower hack. I think Hiller put that out, and then I think Grubb tested it.
Yeah.
So that's
been around for a while.
Yeah, it has. But but for the most part, it's controlled. Things are pretty much binary. Like there's no way to fudge. Like a box jump over, you either did it or you didn't. Like you can't really. That's controlling the all the different variables. The problem with this is like there's the potential, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but the fact that there is so much potential for disparities in terrain and people dealing with different challenges, that maybe someone not measuring right, things like that. That participants that make it to the games, like they want to know that this was all fair. And this introduces a level, I think, of uncertainty that is just tough I think if you're a competitor, tough to deal with, because you're always accepting the fact that someone may have cheated or may have, skirted the rules a little bit. And this just really opens up that door. And I'm not.
Well, and even you think about one of the ways to show proof is showing a route on one of your fitness trackers.
I'm going to call that up and put it on screen just so while you're talking.
Oh.
Sorry, I didn't interrupt.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's assuming, and I would agree that probably at least 1 out of 4 athletes is going to have some kind of fitness tracker. But what if a team doesn't have one? How are we justifying that all of the brands of fitness trackers are created equally? How do we know that they are going to update with the correct information? It just leaves so much room for variables that could go wrong and does not make this an even playing field.
So go ahead, Tommy.
It also so even if you do have a tracker, it's suddenly like a GPS system and a mobile cameraman suddenly now part of the equipment list.
Yeah.
And I would even say it would be one thing too if they gave people a heads up.
Well,
but suddenly you have to have orienteering as a skill for the team semifinals.
Well, I want to read. Sorry, Tommy, I didn't mean to jump in. Are you done with your
No, you're good.
Okay, let's read the equipment section here. Okay, and it says teams hoping to qualify for the CrossFit Games must, and must is in all caps, have video evidence of their run course available upon request. So video evidence of the run course, not the workout itself, just this is our course, right? Here's the video. And it's failure to provide video on request, so it's not mandatory that you submit this with your score, may result in disqualification. Evidence must be photos and or screenshots of a GPS tracking device that shows the run course. Again, shows the run course, doesn't say shows the run course during the workout. It must include distances in feet and or meters, and an uncut video of the course being measured. Must show distance at the beginning and at the end of the run course. The photos and videos do not need to be submitted at the time of score submission, but CrossFit may request proof as needed. So the way that reads to me is that there needs to be no video evidence of the athletes actually running the course during the workout. You just need to provide it. And here's the other thing too, when you talk about limited space, things like that, the way I understand this and the way that it looks in the demo video is that it has to be a 400 out, 400 back. There's no you can run a 200 meter loop 4 times.
You can do that though.
You can?
Yeah, they did clarify that it can be a loop system that equates to perfect. 400 meters.
That's good because that was not explicitly stated in the rules. So that's good to know.
Which is also an issue, right? It was not explicitly stated.
So does it say, is there anywhere where it says, and again, I'm just reading that list, where you have to show the team during the workout running the course, which means you're going to have to move the camera that you have set up to capture everything, run it outside. And I'm not like, I think most 99% of the teams are probably going to try to do this right. It's just the fact that it opens up the door to this kind of, to the potential.
But also, like, it also puts so much more onus, like, it, to me, because of that potential, it puts a higher emphasis on needing to be able to make sure you regulate and score and judge all that stuff. This workout particularly to the nth degree, right?
Mm-hmm.
If there's going to be a lot more ways that people could cheat and fudge, it means you have to be super tight in how you regulate this workout. And clearly, just by what you've read there, the nebulousness of some of the rules, like the loop and stuff like that, and CrossFit's own kind of admission via structure, that they're not necessarily that interested in, like, regulating this. Like, they're trying, like, based on the age group semifinals, and even from the wording in that video, they're not like saying like, hey, we will make sure that this is like, everybody did this by the book. We're gonna go through and judge every video and make sure everyone that shows up to the games is gonna have their video reviewed, and they're gonna have the proper footage of everybody running that race all the time. It's like, if you're trying to be less involved in the online judging process, it makes even less sense to include a run then.
Sean, I feel like I disagree with you that I don't know if the majority of athletes are going to do this right. And I don't think that athletes, for the most part, intentionally cheat. I do not think that. But for this specific workout, I think that a lot of athletes are probably assuming that several other teams are in some way going to cheat this. So everybody's going to be looking for that little competitive edge that I would argue that I think a good amount of teams are going to try to game this.
And I think one way you could do it is that if you're not required, because reading those rules, it doesn't say you need to have videos of your team running. What's preventing people from running out of the gym, looking at their watch for, whatever, 2:20, taking a rest,
nobody
running,
runs.
and then running right back in.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. It's like, is the risk here worth the reward? Is the possibility of allowing for this worth the reward of testing it here at this point? And I don't know if it is. I mean, I think there's a different way. There's a better way to do this that really minimizes the opportunities for malfeasance.
And even if everybody did do it by the book, I think just the sheer fact that they programmed this into the slate has people drawing questions about why, and kicks the rumor mill starting. Like, do you think, like, just all of the dialogue around this being programmed right now, do you think it adds to the belief and trust in CrossFit as an organization, with their transparency and fairness and all of these things that is supposed to be happening? Do you think people are going to come out of this weekend being like, man, I think my faith in HQ and the game season has really gone up from this?
No,
because I think just people feel like this is an unforced error. Like, this doesn't, you made it tougher on yourself by putting this in there.
But I think the decision makers around the sport team are too experienced for this to be an unforced error. I think this is a forced error at this point. Like, I think an unforced error means like you didn't intend for this to be, or like there's some release of liability at some point. Like, they should know better at this point.
I'm just really surprised. It's like I would liken this, maybe this is a bad comparison, but people, why aren't there kettlebell swings in the open? It's too hard to judge that movement. There's so much gray area, and it's the same thing here. There's just the opportunity. And again, I'm not saying, I have faith that people are going to try to do this. They're going to want to compete. But I do agree with you, Lauren. There are going to be some people that try to game this. And I guarantee you there will be a team that says, we're going to walk out the door and we're just going to run back in at the right time, and we're going to rest so we can get that's possible. And as long as you provide that video evidence, and someone like jump in and correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't read anything in that rule book right there. And I looked at the rule book too about having to show your athletes running the entirety of the 800 meters, because like, what if your course goes out around the corner? Now you got to follow them out the door. I think we're just taking it on faith that these teams are going to do it,
And the thing is, testing running is a great test of fitness. I'm not arguing that. I would even be okay with if they were to come out, a couple months in advance to give people enough time to logistically figure it out. Like, hey, in the team workouts, there is going to be running on either an assault runner, true form, whatever. And again, I know that it's not exactly apples to apples, but at least you can prove that people are running. You can show like the monitor. It at least gives something. Or just if you want to program running in one of these workouts, make it so everybody can go to a track. Include dumbbells, include a jump rope, include an ab mat. You know what I mean? Like, so that the whole thing can be videotaped, and then you still get the integrity of the movements and what's going on.
Yeah, that's a great point, Lauren, about the movements that they included, because I think a lot of people are like, yeah, if you just made it so we could do this at a track, that'd be great. Greg Amundsen, Helen style, we did it at the track, and you see him running across the back of the screen, or even with stage 1 of the CrossFit Games back in 2020, where we saw Tia and Matt go to the track and record their videos that way, and with some elements of running there. So it just sucks, man. Like, it just feels like another, like, I'll say forced error, right? It just feels like an unnecessary point of contention and head scratcher of a call, and it feels just like it overshadows like the storylines of the teams in the competition. Every minute that's spent talking about like whether or not this was a good decision or whether or not this could be cheated, it's time that could have been spent on the athletes or on the programming in a way that could actually be conducive to the sport, it's just, and I guess you could argue that, even this conversation could be conducive if you're trying to hold people accountable for not so smart decisions. But I don't know, man. It's baffling.
It is interesting. I really, like I said, to start this whole thing off, and then we'll move on to Hicks. I didn't think I'd see the day when we'd have, in an online competition, we'd have running, just because it's like, no, you can't, like, it's not apples to apples. Like, there's so much that can go wrong here. And here we are. And I fingers crossed, I have faith this is all going to work out and it's not going to be a huge deal and no one is going to cheat. I know that's being very Pollyannish. God, I hope that's the case.
There's 100% going to be people cheating.
Someone's going to game. Every year there's someone that tries to game this. And whether it's the small plates so we don't have to jump as high, or whether it's,
fake jump ropes,
no jump ropes, edited videos, whatever it is, people are figuring it out. So I don't know. I guess I'm Charlie Brown. I really think I'm going to kick the football this time.
And there's even for like taking a step back from people that are intentionally cheating, there's going to be people that don't intentionally cheat that mess this up royally.
Yeah. Measure it wrong. Yeah. I'd say if you're measuring this, add a couple extra meters just to be safe. Yeah. Don't go exactly. If it's 400 out, you go 405 out. Bring it back. Just
bring it back.
I'm seriously, overdo it because you don't want it to be. If there is a doubt, there is no doubt. And when you're measuring this, everybody go above and beyond. Make it very clear.
Yeah, especially because they don't even it's hard to even get the runs right at in-person competitions when it was a standardized run across semifinals. But then
at least, right? Well, even at the games.
Or
but
at
at least everybody did the same thing, right?
The 4.6K,
whatever. Distance doesn't really matter. 5K-ish.
Man, I wish our gym used Castro's little wheel for measuring out our runs.
Yeah,
everything would be faster then.
Exactly. All right, well, moving on, I'll get to the main portion of the show. Before we do that, we want to thank our sponsor for today, and that is Kreatures of Habit. Kreatures of Habit, fantastic product. Make their overnight instant oats, 30 grams of protein packed with all kinds of high-quality ingredients. it's awesome stuff. They got great flavors that you can get. It comes in a package. You just literally dump it in a bowl, put some water, milk, whatever you want, put it in the container, leave it overnight, and you've got yourself an instant meal that is, again, packed with all kinds of great, nutritious, tasty stuff. Love Creatures of Habit. I've been eating mine every day.
Easy and delicious.
My little hack is you take instead of water, you use a cup of Fairlife milk. It's lactose free. It adds another 12 grams of protein. If you're like someone that needs to make sure you hit your protein numbers, beautiful. You got 40 plus grams of protein in a healthy meal in under a minute. So hard to beat that.
If you're watching the scan that little, there it is down there on your screen, and it'll take you to Creatures of Habit. Use our code TEF, and you will save 20% on their perfect instant oats that are going to let you have a perfect day when you eat them. They have 30 grams of protein, no added sugars, nothing artificial, vitamin D3, added probiotic, and added digestive enzymes. I mean, what more could you want? And it is really super tasty. You know what I did today with my maple flavor?
Oh, tell us. The maple is the king.
Put a little peanut butter in it.
Oh, yeah.
That was good.
That is the way.
I quite enjoyed that for my afternoon snack.
I've been doing a little drizzle of honey on the top.
That's what I'm talking about. There you go. So, hey, and if you're a Creatures of Habit person out there and you're already on board, let us know how you Creatures of Habit. Let us know what your habit is.
Ooh, I like that.
With your Creatures of Habit. Creaturesofhabit.com. That's creatures with a K. TEF is the code. You save 20%, and you have one of your meals taken care of each day, and it's only going to take you a minute to prepare. All right, our guest today is our good friend Josh Hicks. He is the head of medical and athlete safety for the World Fitness Project. Tommy and Lauren sat down with him earlier today. He talks about his new role, what he's doing with the World Fitness Project, why he decided to do it, how this is the same as the stuff that he has been doing throughout his career at different events, and how it differs. So here is Tommy and Lauren's interview with our good friend, Josh Hicks.
We now want to welcome into the show Josh Hicks. He is the director of medical and safety for the World Fitness Project. He has also been on medical teams in a lot of different fitness areas. Josh, it is great to have you here today. Some really good news.
Thanks, guys. Happy to be here. Answer some questions.
So recently you announced that you have this new after action review process that when you look at it and go through it, it's really a way to integrate the athletes, make sure that they're part of the conversation. And from the outside looking in, it seems basic in the sense that why haven't we had this yet? So can you first just walk us through the process and the conversations that eventually allowed this to be part of the World Fitness Project season?
Yeah. So essentially, we were looking at ways to improve communication with the athletes and streamline the process. And in other events, we have committees and we have groups of people that sit down long after the event. And what most people that have worked these events are usually aware of doing is what we call an after action report, an AAR. And what that is essentially your team leads and your staff members will meet together, like either a Zoom or just a collection of documents on a Google Drive, where we will document things that went well, things that, and when I say went well, I mean excelled, things that went above and beyond. Also, things that we may have changed during the course of the event, things that made the event move a little smoother, and then also things that didn't work. Maybe they looked good on paper, we did them, they didn't pan out. And we'll take usually some feedback from athletes that are there. I take notes when I'm walking around athlete warm up, or if somebody comes and talks to me, and we'll incorporate that into it in hopes that the next year we can take these and incorporate them and improve the event. So every year it's a process. And out of necessity for communication, out of necessity for an improved, speedy process for this, I was just thinking one day in my office, we already have the people that could form a committee. They're already going to be communicating on an after action report. why don't we call it the after action review? And just like we do at the beginning of an event, where before, like a week before the event, we'll have a massive Zoom call with the athletes and the judges to go over standards and workouts and things that are to be released and things that are to be expected, and let them ask questions with that. Well, we could apply that same concept to safety and medical and risk. So what we want to do, or my thoughts on this, were to offer the same Zoom, but after the event. Now, we don't want it immediately after. If you've won, your emotions are high, and it's, probably, hell yeah, it was great. Or if you were surprised and didn't do well, it's, no, everything sucked. So we want everybody to kind of come down, have time to recover, relax, and maybe talk amongst themselves about things that they noticed together that could be better, or things that were great that they don't ever want to see change, and everything in between. So that concept and that thought gave birth to the after action review. And after talking with everybody in the head staff, we decided that this was the route that we were going to go. And it essentially just moves that time frame about a week to 2 weeks post event. So everybody's home, everybody's recovered, everybody's moving through things. Now, for the first event, it might end up being 3 weeks after, just because we have so many semifinals and things going on in that time frame. We don't want to interrupt that. So, you might have some people that are competing in multiple events, or know a handful of people that are competing in all events, which is fine. But I want to make sure that all the voices are heard. And I know that, part of the process for this was that not all people can schedule the same time frames. So we're going to have a follow-up 2 to 3 days after that. So everybody gets the option. And that's kind of where this came in. And it's where it came from, was to make sure that the voices are heard. And, we can go into greater detail about it, but to answer your first question, that's where it came from, was out of necessity and building.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how would you say, this compares to kind of the status quo as far as medical and safety and risk management is in the sport, as well as any other endeavors that you're involved in? Because I think it makes a lot of sense that this exists now, but I don't know if everyone necessarily has a frame of reference on whether this is a real departure from what we see elsewhere.
Yeah. So these types of meetings, you'll see them in some other professionalized sports. NBA, I know, do these things, but it's mostly agents and team managers, which is fine. We are just a smaller sport, so I wanted to include the athletes in that. A lot of them have some more direct feedback, and a lot of the athletes end up being coaches or are also coaches, so their input matters to us. It's a little bit of a deviation there, but this is something that we've seen in the past, again, with the after action reports, but we wanted it to be a review with the actual people. The Teddy Roosevelt quote that the respect goes to the man in the arena. So we kind of want that. We want that feedback, and we want it to be close enough that you've not forgot about it. But at the same time, this is also something that we do in emergency services. So when we have like a rescue operation, most notably recently would be the Hurricane Helene, which I was involved with. We had lots of these meetings afterwards, like what went well with the rescue, what didn't, things that we can improve on later to kind of streamline it. As you can imagine, in rescue services, time is of the essence. That also goes for our documentation and improvement. Stress is, your human body reads stress pretty much exclusively the same at a molecular level. Stress from a workout, stress from a catastrophe, it's still stress. Now, the degree to which you're going to experience it is different, but you want to be able to have time to reflect on these things as in real time when they're happening. So to answer your question, yes, it's something that's kind of new to our sport. In certain iterations, it exists in other sports. Most notably, outside of sport, it exists professionally inside emergency services, or actually just first response. So you'll see it with police departments, hospitals, trauma centers, EMS, fire. You'll see all this kind of stuff. It's a little bit different, but essentially it's like a 50-50 mix.
Yeah.
I mean, you have such a long resume of being on medical teams, being medical team leads. With the fitness space specifically, how does this compare to what other after action review processes have looked like?
So in the past, the after action reports that we've done have really improved the events, but they improved them the next year. And when we go through the testing process, most notably, if you were to look at things that have been designed that are now kind of like an industry standard, like when you see my teams do the circle up, if you have like an EAP activation where the judges are part of it, the equipment team, and everybody just kind of becomes one team. That was something that I brought up in an after action report in the head staff meetings after Wodapalooza. And we talked about it for a few months. I was able to test it at a couple of other events, and then we rolled it out the next year. That's one whole calendar year later. Well, Wodapalooza had one event then. And then we were able to expand it from there. And I have been fortunate enough to do some of these things, not because I'm better or I have more experience, but just in sheer saturation of events because of the vast number of them I've been able to do. So we could test things quickly. My problem with that is that sometimes I have ideas that I want to implement, and I view them as something that could potentially change the sport. Just like the circle up drill, it's now an industry standard and you'll see it all over the world. That is something that we waited a year. We probably could have rolled it out sooner, but we didn't really have a means to. So we wanted to speed that process up. And that is ultimately what this is. Along with the after action review, we've got a timeline of how we want to move through these suggestions. And then we want to like publicly acknowledge. So, and sometimes we'll have, I'm foreseeing we will have suggestions that in testing are not feasible, that we will have to keep that standard the way it is, not only for safety, but just for productivity and for efficiency of the event. And if that is the case, we want to be publicly clear about it. Like, this is how we tested it. This is what we want to do. And this is the whole process behind which we're doing it. So that's essentially what it is.
Yeah. So let's get into the nitty gritty of that a little bit, because I love hearing all of that, and I think it's certainly needed. But is there any details in terms of timeline, in terms of medium of communication that you can kind of share with regards to this and how it'll be implemented? Because like you said, there are actually multiple events this year, so you can implement some of that stuff, within the calendar year and a little bit faster turnaround. And on top of that, is there anything as far as like plans for expansion, maybe including the challenger divisions moving, in the future, that you hope can be like a second or third iteration?
Yeah. So, and there were some comments on the post that came out that some of them gave me a bit of a headache in reading, and I think that came from a position of not understanding that not every event inside this space is connected. So, this is pretty much the first launch. And the first launch is essentially a proof of concept. We want to make sure that it works. So not only are we going to be improving the events with this, we're going to be improving this process as well. So as it moves from proof of concept to now standard, I think it'll be easier. And anybody that's worked with me in the past, anybody that has reached out to me, even if I'm not your medical team lead, can vouch that I'm an open book, and I will do everything in my power to implement this or give them any type of information on it, how we do it, the processes. I want it to expand because I don't see it as an individual event is going to be better than the others because of this. I see it as an opportunity to grow the entire international community from this. And it's one of those processes that I think just takes a little bit of time and testing. We're probably going to have some misses and hopefully have a home run.
Yeah. Yeah. And circling back to like the timelines and medium of communication, is there something that we can expect on that run? I'm sorry, I know I lobbed multiple questions at you.
Yeah. So my initial thoughts on this is, again, we want to roll this out for the athletes to communicate with us about 1 to 2 weeks post event. That may not be feasible with May just because of how many people are doing multiple events. So it'll probably be the middle of June. Then we want to take about a 4 to 5 week period of time where we can come together, head staff for WFP can come together and go through a list of these. The layout for the design or the implementation of the actual Zoom call, I want to take about 10 to 15 minutes at the beginning. We're going to cap it at 90 minutes. I don't, these types of open forum can go 10 hours. I don't want to do that. I want to make sure everybody stays on track and we move through it. We take notes, but we want to document everything that's said. And the hopes are, if we have everybody at the same meeting and 10 people have the same thought, one of them voices it, then we don't have 10 separate emails that are getting lost in the shuffle or delivered to a different person. everybody's there, everybody hears it, and we can expand on it. And we can get it, honed down to the exact issue that they have at hand. We're going to make a note of that, and then we're going to work on it over about 4 to 6 weeks. I envision that it will be social media that is rolled out first, possibly open forum like this, and as well as probably the YouTube channel that we'll go through. And it's going to be, it won't just be like a document that's emailed out. It's going to be something that I can talk through. And it may be me, it may be me and Will, it may be me and Will and Jason and Jackson and everybody with WFP, but we want to just make sure that the athletes and that the public understand that we're trying to be as transparent and as positive as possible for this, which is why I want the medium to be social media and pushed out that way.
What is going to be that balance between, you're arguably the expert when it comes to these things, but also being open-minded and listening to the athletes, having that transparency? Like, what is that balance, and almost being in tune with knowing whether there is a bias or not between the athletes that is good for them, but maybe not the integrity of a movement or the sport or the programming? Like, have you foreseen what that might look like if there is an elephant in the room that like both parties just can't agree on?
So that's part of the process of growth. We are giving a lot in order to be able to do this, and we want to be an open book with this. We want, honesty, integrity, and professionalism to be the hilt of everything that we're building here. And I think that there's a lot of give on our part for that. And there's probably going to have to be a lot of give on the other part. You can't just have one side pushing all the dictation to it, because if you do that, then the pendulum swings the opposite direction and we end up in an even worse situation to begin with. So also to say that I would never call myself an expert. I believe that when people say that they are the foremost purveyor of information for something, they're probably just complacent. So I am wide open to accept anything. I know I don't know everything, and I am not the man in the arena. I'm the man standing at the edge of the arena with a box of Band-Aids. So we want to make sure that the people that are out there and need my help can come and get my help, and we can make sure that the situations, maybe you're not going to take all risk out. It's sport, right? There's risk in everything that we do in sport, but we can make it safer. And I may not see things from the perspective of an athlete, but I am watching. So if I have that athlete's perspective come to me, then it shifts everything. And the pendulum is going to swing one way or the other, but we just kind of need to keep it more centralized.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess kind of following up on that, we had you on last in the fall. And since then we've had some major events. We've had time for reflection on a lot of what took place, at the games and throughout the calendar year. Where would you say there's been maybe some positive improvements in the status of safety and risk management in the sport? Has there been any positive developments? Where do you feel like the kind of temperature of the room is right now?
I think there's still a lot of growth to happen, but I have watched quite a few events, major events. Some of them have reached out. And what I have noticed from the inside, and I don't want to name any events, but there's probably been about 12 or 14 that I've talked to. They've made a serious move towards professionalizing their safety. And what I mean by that is events that maybe had a one-page EAP, emergency activation plan, for those who don't know, reach out and want to expand on that to make sure all their bases are covered, and want to know the processes for how I do that, what EAPs look like for other events, which I'm an open book. If the event is okay with me showing them, I will send them copies and let them look at it and ask questions. And I would never offer that to anybody to just take it and change the name on it and go, because it doesn't work like that. So I want them to read it and then I ask questions, because questions will ultimately get you where you need to be and get you to understanding. So that's kind of the process that I'm seeing. And I've seen it, I've been doing this a long time. And in the past, probably 12 months, I've seen more people reach out and be open to changing the way they have historically done things at their events to make them safer, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
That to me, that shows a community-wide shift, not just towards safety, but towards a real professional sport.
That's great to hear, honestly. I mean, it's maybe not something that is always talked about. I think sometimes this sounds weird, but I think in the fray of an event, sometimes the health and safety plan can get taken for granted because, like you said, and I would argue that you are in some ways the man in the arena as far as taking control of that peace of mind for some of these athletes to know that they are taken care of and they do have help when they need it. But it's almost one of those things where it's like you never worry about it until you absolutely need it, and sometimes that's a little too late. And it's just nice to hear that people are starting to take it a little bit more seriously.
Yeah, the frequency with which they're reaching out was kind of refreshing, and I got to be honest. After the first couple of podcasts I did, the sheer volume of people that reached out and wanted information, and some of them were very small, but a lot of them messaged back with a second email, and then a third, and then a fourth, and then I watched things develop over time. And the consultation part of that is the biggest thing, and for me, it was comforting to see that from a community perspective. I've said this to multiple people over the past few months. Is I know that the whole community right now is still a little polarized, and things happen, and that's kind of the way that humans interact. But in the polarization of everything, I do not have a side. I have a job, and I want to continue to do that job to the best of my ability, no matter what side of the aisle it might fall on. Rising tide raises all ships, and I think that is kind of part of it. And to expand on what you just said, medical and safety is probably the number one expense you want to waste money on, because if it is wasted money, you've not used them. But if you
Interesting. Good
save
perspective.
money on it, by not spending it, and then you need it, you're in a much worse position. Catastrophic position. So
yeah.
Wow, I love that. My last question is, I'm sure if you think about what the vision for this is, the obvious answer is safer events and I'm sure transparency. But is there anything even a step further of what you hope the growth of this has, or like how this can be incorporated into more events? Like what is that long-term vision here?
I'm hoping that this is something that is easy for me to document and write down, and then therefore expand or educate people on how to do, because it's scalable. I mean, it's everything that we do inside what we do as a methodology. It's infinitely scalable. So if you have a local competition that has 50 athletes and you've got 3 people running it, you could meet them after the event or have them stop by the gym and talk to them and say, hey, how do we improve? How can we have this event next year, maybe for a Friday Night Lights, and make it better? And it might be something as simple as have more toilet paper in the bathroom, or, have better food trucks outside, things like that. Or you could expand it even farther to these events like WFP and Wadapalooza and, all of these different semifinals. You could expand it to that point and use the staff to communicate with the athletes. And I think while safety is the ultimate goal of this, I think in terms of having a safe environment to compete, you're able to push a little farther when you know that the safety is there, and when you can trust the people that you're talking to about your concerns, and that they will be heard and that they will be addressed. You might talk to, and this is what I've told a few athletes that have called me about it. You can go to your doctor and you can say, hey, I got on WebMD and I've got this bump on my shoulder and I think I just need to have my arm amputated. And what's the doctor going to tell you? Like, well, let's take a look at it, really see what the effects are, and you can probably keep the arm. So, it's one of those things. Like in the moment, maybe we have a movement that we've tested multiple times and it's fine. And then in the heat of competition, somebody finds a shortcut, and I'm not saying that that's bad, but if I tell you, if we all three line up to do a competition and it's for $20 and I feel my calf getting a little tight, I might slow down a little bit. But if you throw $4,000 or $5,000 out there, I'll probably go ahead with an amputation and keep going. It's one of those things, and even in the methodology, I think Greg Glassman said it best when he said men will die for points.
Mm-hmm.
People will die for points. So when you get a leaderboard up there, it kind of changes the dynamic a little bit. It might be a little easier if people understand that there is honesty from the staff and there's transparency and a sincere effort to improve on their behalf, not just for spectacle, not just for competition purposes, but on their behalf to make it better.
Yeah. I've got one last question, and maybe it's a little bit more practical than WebMD, but if someone is listening to this right now, they're thinking of doing a local throwdown or they already host a competition. Two things: are there a few basic items that maybe in a checklist that they could kind of self-examine to make sure that, hey, maybe I have some blind spots on this? And if so, what is a good way, if they ever want to get in touch with you, to be able to maybe have that conversation and open it up for you?
So blind spots are at every event. Doesn't matter from the highest level all the way down. Clearly, we've seen them in the past couple of months. There are blind spots. Preparation is the best thing that you've got. And I think that in terms of safety, not everybody can hire a medical team. But it's fairly easy to get somebody to stand by with the phone and reach out to your local EMS and let them know, hey, I've got an event going on this weekend, and it would be nice if you could maybe have people patrol by, or if you've got a supervisor, EMS supervisor, fire departments, just come by and kind of make a presence known, involve them in it. I actually just heard something on Rich's podcast, and he was talking about it's a big deal for our sport that municipalities get involved. Cookville was a host to an event, and then I think Brian said something about one over in Spain being a host to the event, or not a host but a sponsor to the event. That's a big deal, and maybe that sponsorship, maybe you go to your local town and that sponsorship looks like, hey, we're going to sit an ambulance here, but know your times, and you will always fall back to your highest level of preparation. So if you prepare for this, and I'm a safety guy, my big thing is having an AED on site. You can rent those. That process is fairly easy. I do have a checklist that I have handed out to people, and you can mark small things. Depending on the size of the event, we can kind of go through things. Easiest way for people to reach me is probably Instagram. All my contact information's on there, and I think I left my email up. I started a separate email just for that. After the first couple of podcast interviews in the fall of last year, my original email was absolutely inundated. So I had to do something to make sure I was reaching people where they're at. So that's kind of probably the best way to reach me. But I think that's you don't know what you don't know. And I think that's at the end of the day, that's where the after action review comes in. We don't know what we don't know. And I don't profess to know everything. My wife might argue that point, but for the most part, I don't know everything. So
I love it.
Well, Hicks, it's always great to catch up with you. Thank you for everything that you're doing in the community. I mean, if other people don't know, he also runs the medical team for tactical games. I'll actually see you in Nevada in just a couple of days. So we appreciate everything. And again, reach out to him if you have any questions or want to get a medical team set up for your local event or something even bigger.
Hicks. Love hearing from old Hicksy. Saw him in Cookville at the Mayhem Classic. Just a solid dude, man. That guy he's a lot like, he was a lot like Senior, Rich Froning Senior, just getting stuff done. Just out there on the floor, getting stuff done, organizing things, always busy. Good dude.
And he's so personable. He's somebody that's genuine. You can go up, have a very intelligent conversation, and and that's also why I love him in the space. He's very much business. He wants to help. He wants to elevate everybody. He's open to feedback. And I just think that the space is lucky to have somebody like him.
100%. And, his quote when he said, he's like, I don't have a side, I have a job to do. And, it's to make, the safety plans, the protocols, the risk management, all of that as best as possible. And it's, I agree that there are people in this space that I've met over the course of, 16 years now, that you just can tell that they love what they do. They're selfless in their pursuit of being the best that they can be. And he's one of them for sure.
Yeah. It's my only Hicks story, and this will tell you what kind of quality human being Josh Hicks is. When my dog Spike passed away in August, it was right before the Masters games. And we went to the Masters games, and Hicks was there. And I met him a couple times in person. I think the most interaction we had was virtual. Brought me a patch that he had made with a paw print on it, my dog's name, and then the date that he passed away, and gave it to me, and I still have it on my backpack.
Oh my God.
That's what Josh Hicks did for me. And that,
wow.
Oh, I could cry.
Yeah, that's a quality human being right there, and that's why I'm a huge fan of Josh Hicks. Speaks to his character. So
100%.
I'll lifetime PR to Hicks. As we,
there you go.
As PR. He lives in the club.
Yeah, as we move into PRs and no reps. I don't think I have a no rep. I definitely have a PR today.
Tommy, do you have a no rep?
I have a no rep. I have a no rep injuries. I don't know if you guys saw Gabby Magawa.
Yes, that's
Achilles.
right. That sucks, man.
It's brutal. You feel for her. That's her quote on the Morning Chalk Up article about like she felt like she wasted 10 weeks of rehab.
God,
it's just my brother's gone through that rehab, and it's really tough, and
it sucks.
You just feel for her, and you hope that this is the only setback that she has, and that ultimately it leads to bigger and better things for her.
Yeah, that's all right. Well, we're pulling for you, Gabby. Get well soon. Lauren, you got a no rep?
Oh, I did, and now, dang it. You know what? No, we're just going to be positive today.
Let's do PRs.
Let's just go to the PRs.
All right, I'm going to PR.
You did have a no rep. We talked about it earlier.
I know.
Is it
I know. We talked about my
dating
PR
thing.
Oh,
is that a dating thing?
Oh, we could. I can no rep dating things till my face turns
I was
blue.
going to say that's a whole show.
If
let's go back to the well.
We'll go back to the well. If you ghost somebody, like if you go on multiple dates with the person and then they just disappear, delete, block you for whatever reason with no explanation. Okay, whatever. Like I have thick skin over these years. It's fine. But do not come crawling back unless you're willing to like beg for forgiveness. Do not comment on my Facebook talking about my appearance, because now I will flip it and I will embarrass you on my public page.
Oh man.
Ooh.
I do not understand the rules of engagement anymore when it comes to this stuff. Thank you.
I try to keep things like names of people discreet, but when you poke the bear so many times, the bear's gonna bite.
Yeah. Damn. All right.
Damn.
Now let's. I am glad that's not my world anymore. I don't know. I don't know how people do it nowadays.
You and me both. I could barely do it when it was simpler.
All right. This is my PR. I'm going to PR harmonica national anthems.
Yes.
What? I've never heard one.
I had that on mine.
The Los Angeles Kings in Game 1 of their Stanley Cup playoff matchup with the Edmonton Oilers, they had a group of women from the Koreatown Senior and Community Center play the Star Spangled Banner on harmonicas, and they went out. The Kings went out and they opened up a 4-0 lead. They nearly lost the game. It was an incredible comeback by Edmonton because they have otherworldly Connor McDavid. But they ended up winning with a goal in the final minute, 41 seconds to win 6-5. And everybody was like, you got to bring the harmonicas back. So Game 2 is this evening. And I believe the harmonicas might be in play. Like the ladies from the senior center said, originally I think they said they were going to rest. And now they're like, no, we need you. So we might have a harmonica national anthem at crypto.com for the start of Game 2. So harmonica national anthems get a PR.
I actually had that on mine too.
Nice.
Sports are the best. Oh,
Yeah.
it's so. Oh, that's fantastic.
PR, Tommy?
I'm going to PR. This is kind of a two-parter. So I feel like I've PR'd babies quite a bit recently, but this is a two-parter. One, Josh and Haley Murillo announced that they're having another kid.
Congratulations.
I feel like they're a staple at live events. You see them walking around pushing the stroller. Haley's like got the baby on the hip. Congrats on them expanding their family. And also a babies / medical PR. I don't know if you guys read what happened with Mia Hesketh.
I did.
Preeclampsia and how it progressed, and they had to do an emergency C-section. Thankfully, mom and baby are okay and recovering. But I mean, that's just one of those scenarios where it turned potentially really bad in an instant, and you gotta count your lucky stars and thank for quality medical care in that instance for sure.
Glad everyone is okay.
Yep.
All right. That's it for you got something else to learn before we go?
I got a PR.
God, I was so impressed with that. I'm like, all right, we're done. But
I know. Okay. Mine is very much not in the realm of what we're talking about. I'm going to PR a beverage that I had at dinner last night. A Peruvian, I looked it up, Tommy. It's a Peruvian chicha morada.
Whoa.
Okay.
So it is this Peruvian beverage. There was alcohol in mine, but you can get it without alcohol and drink it essentially as a juice. They make it with purple corn, green apple, fresh pineapple, lime juice, and cinnamon.
Interesting.
And if anybody can go somewhere and find one, this is a beverage, whether there's alcohol or not alcohol in it. It is so delicious. Like I can taste it right now. You
can get fun drunk off that.
Yeah.
Really fast.
Yeah, I can just picture Lauren get.
What happened?
White girl wasted at the Peruvian joint down the street.
And make that high pitched squeal when you see your friend you didn't expect to see. Oh my god!
There's definitely a jumping dance that I do with that.
Only dogs can hear it. It gets so high pitched, like oh god.
Oh god.
All right. On that note, thank you for that PR.
Next time I see you, Sean, I'm going to do that to you.
Give me a Peruvian. That's the one, but you just got to update. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. That's it for us, guys. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks for watching. Good luck to everybody competing this weekend at Wadland, as we're going to add 4 more people to the roster of the 2025 CrossFit Games. So best of luck there. For Lauren Khalil and Tommy Marquez, I'm Sean Woodley. Take care of each other. Be better. We will talk to you guys next time.
1, 2, 3, go! Like a kiss at the start of a first date. If it's good, it's good. I don't want to wait. When the feeling's right, I'm taking everything.